Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Hi, everyone. During the opening of our show this week, Marsha and I were talking about the violent insurgents at the U.S. Capitol that occurred the day before we recorded, January 6, 2021. I noticed while editing the show that we never actually named what we were talking about. And I want to make sure that it's clear for anyone who might be listening from outside the U.S. or who might be listening from some time in the future. Also, I edited some of the conversation because in the days between recording and publishing, there has been quite a lot of news that has come out. And so there were things that were not really relevant in what we said. But in what remains, it kind of sounds to me that we aren't as alarmed and sickened by the threat that this attack represents. And I just wanted to note that. I know that any of you who are regular listeners know very well that we were very disturbed and distressed by what happened. So I'll let you get to it.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Marsha.
Well,
I'm tired. Well, we are recording, and it is January 7th. Mm-hmm. So there was bad, horrible news in the Capitol yesterday. So that's what I'm talking about. It was the counting of the Electoral College votes, and because I'd never really watched it, I thought, oh, that would be good to watch, and so I watched it. Well, then once everything happened, I needed to keep watching. So I was up until almost 1 in the morning when it finally ended and all of the votes were counted and certified. So
I stayed up and watched it, but I did not actually go to sleep till about 3.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was so wound up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was knitting, and I'm sure my knitting is all over the place because I was very wound up about the whole thing. I think a lot of people were expressing shock that this was happening. I have to admit, I was not really surprised that it happened, given the rhetoric. I think we've had a number of years to know that something like this might happen.
I have to say I wasn't entirely surprised either. But it is still shocking to see, people pushing their way into the Capitol, kind of a sacred building. And so to see that happening was just very chilling to not know what was going to happen. It was just, it was really frightening. And then my way of coping with that is to just try to find out as much as I can. And so between watching it and I follow a lot of reporters on Twitter. And so, constantly reading tweets. That's what I was doing all day yesterday. And then I woke up this morning and, of course, again, just trying to process everything, by reading every article I could find, looking for something new that I hadn't already heard or read yesterday. And then finally, I just told myself, you have to stop. You're not reading anything you don't already know about.
Yeah, it can become a little obsessive.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's so many sort of unanswered questions about what happened, and I think the question about how it started and what inflamed it, I think that's pretty obvious. But I think it's not really clear why there was not more security, because and given that there was so much on social media, I'm surprised that the security was not better. There's so many questions to be answered that are unanswered at this point.
We could talk about this all day. It's just so disturbing. But then once I decided to stop reading about it, I thought, okay, I need to put something in order. So I pulled all the boxes out of my studio and vacuumed the floor and washed the floor. And now my living room is full of crap again. How many times have I done this? But this time, I actually put the loom back in, and I'm getting started putting stuff back into the studio. And I'm actually going to put stuff on the shelves because it's going to be a while before those shelves get painted. Yeah. So I'm actually just going to put stuff on the shelves. And anyway, it felt good to put a little order into a part of my life.
So if you can't put the world in order, put your own little world in order, I guess, is the idea.
It's like I need to pick a spot, and I'm just going to put it into order. Yeah. So...
Well, I have to say, yesterday I was listening to NPR, and I had taken down the Christmas tree on Tuesday, but I had all the ornaments that I had to put away. So I took Enzo out for a long walk, and then the rest of the day I listened to NPR and sorted through all the Christmas stuff and got it all put away.
Oh, that's good.
And I'll tell you one of my big accomplishments. In terms of putting my world in order. I bought containers that they have sections that hold individual ornaments. And I bought 3 of them. And I think combined they hold like 180 ornaments, I think.
Oh, wow.
And I thought to myself, if I have more than 180 ornaments, what's beyond that has to go. So I purged. Oh, nice. And I did not have 180 ornaments when I was done, but I did put in other little things in there. So I filled up all of it. So now they're all in boxes that are about probably 14 inches square. I got all my ornaments in there. Yes. Oh my gosh, it feels so good.
That is good.
And then I went and I got rid of all those ornaments that I don't know where I got them. Or if I know where I got them, I don't like them. And they're all going to the Goodwill. And so I've got my Christmas ornaments, for the tree. Now we're down to just these 3 boxes and no more ornaments.
That's nice.
I'm not buying any more ornaments.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I feel
or if
pretty
you
good
do
about
get
that.
something else has to go because it won't have a slot.
It won't have a slot. Yeah. Just like my cookbooks. If I buy another cookbook, I have to get rid of a cookbook. So anyway, I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, that is good.
So I've got it all cleaned up and put away because that's what I did listening to all of this, which I think helped doing something sort of constructive and that you can control while you're listening to all of the chaos that was going on. And
no, that is good because I couldn't even knit yesterday.
Yeah.
That is good.
Now, I will say I had, during all of this, I'd have moments where I just had to go lay on the sofa. Like I'd sort a few ornaments and I go lay on the sofa.
Yeah.
Because I was very, very, very upset about everything that was going on. So, as everybody in the country was. So,
right.
Actually, I think around the world from the reporting I've
been
listening to, that other countries have been very concerned about what's been going on in our country. So, anyway. So, should we talk? What do you want to talk about first?
Talk about your projects.
Well, did we want to talk about some of our plans for the new year? Or should we just replay the... Well, let's just talk about that.
Let's do projects first.
Okay. Okay, that'll be upcoming.
Yeah.
Then. Okay, I will go first. So I've been working on my Holey Comfort. I picked it up. And let me just remind people, Holey Comfort is the cardigan by Hinterm Stein, and I'm using Elemental Effects Cormo. And as I've talked about before, I was using up so much yarn because my row gauge is off. So I stopped short of in the body of what the pattern called for, because if I had continued on, it would have been down to my knees, I think. So I put it on waste yarn, and I had done 3/4 of the first sleeve, and we were down at the beach over the New Year's, and I did 3/4 of the second sleeve. And so now both sleeves are on waste yarn because I was a little concerned. Now, again, I might be running out of yarn. So
oh my gosh.
I know. So I decided I'm going to stop at that point and I'm going to finish the body. So I was right down to the part where I had to do about 18 rows of the band, the bottom band, and then do an I-cord bind off, which I did all of that. And I have to say an I-cord bind off is very nice. It's a really nice finish. And I was concerned sometimes with bind offs, on shawls on the bottom edge, I often will bind off with a larger size, 2 or 3 sizes larger needle to make sure that it's loose enough so it doesn't, it's not too tight.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how this would, not having done an I-cord bind off, I was wondering how it was going to be. I decided just to follow the pattern, and it's a beautiful bind off. It's stretchy, but it's not flaring out in any way, and it's a really nice finish. So I would recommend that. So now I'm going to go back and pick up the sleeves. I tried it on. Let me back up. I thought perhaps when I tried it on, the sleeves were going to be too large, and that maybe what I should do is rip back both sleeves and start again and actually put in decreases more frequently. Mm-hmm. But I tried it on yesterday after I bound off the body.
Oh, after you talked to me,
yes,
okay.
I tried it on, and I think the sleeves are fine. I'm not going to rip back. Uh-huh. And so now what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to decrease faster because they are, let's see, I don't know if you even know if they're exactly 3/4. They hit me just below the elbow. I guess that's considered 3/4. Mm-hmm. So just below the elbow. So I think what I'm going to do is just put in decreases at a faster pace and see how that is before I do. Because if I continued at the current rate, which is now about every 8 rows, it'll be too wide at the cuff, at the wrist, I should say. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to work on that this week.
And you will have enough yarn to go all the way down, do you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll find out. I put in the show notes that it will be touch and go with the yarn amount.
To be continued. Oh my gosh.
So I have, let me just reach down into my project bag here, and I have a ball that's about 3 inches, a cake that's about 3 inches in diameter. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the weight is. And I have a second ball that is about 2 inches in diameter, a little ball that's maybe 1 inch in diameter, and my swatch.
Okay.
And my swatch is probably 4 by 8. So I think between all of that, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah. So I'm making progress on it. And
so your trip away where you were held captive by the project was actually successful.
Yes. And I will just talk just briefly about our week away. We went down onto the Washington coast where we always go to Seabrook, and we're down there over New Year's, and it was beautiful the day we arrived, and it was beautiful the day we left. And in between, it poured. I mean, poured. Mm-hmm. And I think we arrived on a Monday. Tuesday, the rain let up enough that it was like we went down to the beach and let the dogs run around. We were down there for probably 2.5 hours, and it was raining, but at least it was a manageable kind of rain. It wasn't that hard driving rain. Mm-hmm. And that was Tuesday. Wednesday, hard driving rain. We basically just took the dogs out to air, and we took them for walks around the property and everything, but then just stayed in the house and knitted and watched movies. And Thursday, rain let up. With another beach, trip to the beach, still raining, but not so bad. Friday, downpour. Saturday was the last full day, pouring rain and super high winds. And I posted a picture on Instagram of Enzo and I went down there. We were only there for about 20 minutes because it was the wind was so strong that it was blowing the rain into both of our faces and eyes where it stings, So we were only down there a short while. And the winds were so high and the surf was so high, the tide was in, it didn't really feel safe down there. And then I realized Enzo and I were the only living beings down there on the beach.
Not even the birds were there?
Yeah, like everybody was gone. Like animals, birds, everything was gone. So I thought, I don't think we should be down here. So that just meant we got a lot of knitting done.
Well, that's good.
And lots of movie watching done too. So anyway.
All right.
But I'm also, right now I'm sitting and working on the first sock of my, that Drops Fabel Print socks that I'm making. And I am on the first sock on the foot, probably another inch, and I'll start the toe. And then I swatched with Little Fish Stitches fingering weight yarn for a tee called Walk Along by AnkeStrick, and I swatched for that, and I'm not reaching, I don't have gauge yet, so I still am fussing with that. So more information to come on that. And then I got something in the mail. I was excited about this. Back in August, I had ordered a kit from Lady Dye Yarns. And Kelly, remember at Stitches we met her, the owner of Lady Dye Yarns, and we gave away her yarn too, right?
Yeah.
For one of our prizes. So I ordered a kit from her, and I'm going to say something, and if you know about this show, you will not be offended by what I'm going to say, but it's Schitt's Creek 2.0, and if you know about this show, it's a Netflix show. And it's spelled SCHITTS. So anyway, it's a really, if you've not seen it, I mean, a lot of people are watching it, so this is not new, but it's a very, very cute show. And so she had done a kit with colors based off the characters. She did the first one, and now I bought 2.0. And it arrived today in the mail. And so I got 2 skeins of yarn. I'm just reaching around here. They are sport weight for a total of 656 yarns, and it's 100% merino. And one colorway is called Mora, and the other colorway is called Simply the Best. Now, I don't know which color is which. One color is a orangish red. And the other one is painted. It's gold and a bit of a like a mauve-y purple and some teal in there and some gray, like a bluey gray. So those are really pretty. And I got stitch markers that have sayings from the characters, like there's one here that says, "You get murdered first."
I don't watch the show, so I don't know the reference.
Yeah,
but
if you watch the show, you'll know what that means. And then the other one, I like the wine, not the label, and Simply the Best. And so that's pretty cute. I think I said this. I got a package of tea. Beantown Tea and Spices, a Monk's Blend, and a sheet of stickers. This is really cute. And then also, a project bag that says it has pictures of the characters on it. And it also says Rose Apothecary, which if you watch the show, you'll know what that means. And then I also yesterday, or 2 days ago, I was emailed a pattern. And the pattern is Fields of Lavender Shawl by Aroha Knits.
Oh, yeah. That's who made my sweater, who designed this that blue sweater that I made out of the dance rustic silk with all the cable stitches.
Right.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. So I'm excited about that. And then that's all I have for projects, but I did want to share a technique that Kim, my travel friend who lived with me this summer, she went to the beach with me, as I mentioned, and she had a sweater that she was working on, and she had to pick up stitches for the button band. And she had a really interesting technique, and I had not heard of this before. Other people may have heard of it. So the first technique is from Cocoknits, and Kim had taken a class on sweater construction from Cocoknits, and I think this is one of the techniques that she may have learned. She also said it's on their website. To get a sort of a nice finish, the technique is you pick up when you pick up stitches for the button band, you pick them up on number 1, size 1 needles. So really small needles you just pick up, but then you knit it with the correct size needle. And what it does is it makes a much tidier,
like the edge sort of between the
yes, and it sort of pulls those stitches down, kind of.
Yeah.
And then the other thing you do is you knit even though you're doing a 1x1 rib, you knit the first row. And then you do the 1x1 rib, and that pulls all those stitches down kind of below, so you don't see any of the picked up stitches. Is that the right?
Oh, okay.
You don't see any of the stitches that you picked up. I thought that was a really interesting technique, and it looked really nice. The other technique, and I don't know, her friend Sue does this. And I don't know if this was her idea or she learned this someplace else, so I don't know who to give credit to. But a pattern will tell you to pick up a certain number of stitches, or it'll tell you to pick up, skip every 4th stitch.
Yeah. 3 out of every 4 or 2 out of every 3.
Yeah. Right. And so this technique is you pick up the exact number of stitches that are in the body of the sweater.
Okay.
Regardless of what the pattern tells you.
You just pick up every stitch.
You pick up every stitch, and then your first row that you knit, you decrease evenly across to the amount that the pattern calls for.
Oh,
so for example, if you picked up every stitch and it was 100, but the pattern says 80, no, let's be realistic, it'd be 90, say. You would then just decrease 10 stitches evenly across that first knit stitch, that first knit row.
Yeah.
So what Kim did, she combined the two techniques. So she picked up with the size 1 needles, knit the first row, but she picked up every row, every stitch. And then on that first knit row, she decreased till she had the number that the pattern told her to use. I thought that was a really interesting technique. Yeah. People may have heard of it, but I had not heard of it.
Me either.
And it looked really nice. Well, she was funny too, because she says she typically has to do her button bands 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
So we were sort of laughing about that. So she picked it up the first, she picked it up just the usual technique where you just with the larger needle pick up the stitches, and she knit the whole thing, and it did not look good. And she picked up the way they recommended, 3 out of 4 stitches. It looked sort of puckery. And so she said, I don't know why I'm doing this. She said, I know better than this, because she knew these techniques. So she went back and combined those 2 techniques, and the band looked beautiful. There's no puckering. That first knit row is sort of sucked into the body of the sweater, and it disappears. So it looks really nice. Yeah.
Well, I had to do some picking up of stitches, but I did not know of that technique. It wasn't for a button band, but I always have anxiety that I'm going to not be able to pick up the right number of stitches, or it'll be puckery, or it'll pull in too much or whatever. I had heard about picking them up with a smaller size needle, like a size 1 needle, because I had that in a pattern. That sounds familiar. Like I did that on a particular pattern. I don't remember which one, but there was a pattern that called for that.
And remind me again what you do with the, because don't you often pick up with the contrasting color? Like if you do stripes or something, you pick up with the contrast.
I have done that. Yeah. I like that look. That was in the pattern, I think, for the Funky Grandpa, where you picked up stitches for the button band with your contrast color, and then you started knitting the regular color, and it just really gave a nice little color detail all along the button band. Very, it's kind of in a ditch anyway.
Right.
And then to have that color there just kind of sets it off. I thought that was a really nice technique. And I've used that. I used it on something else. I don't remember what the other thing was that I used it on, but I have used that technique a couple of times.
So I'm going to try it. If I remember, I'm going to try and do it the next time I do a cardigan.
Oh, cool.
The cardigan I'm doing right now, the band is just knit right into it. It's not, you don't pick up stitches afterwards. So I don't have the opportunity to do it on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Kelly, I have to ask you about your projects. And I have to ask about Persian Tile Blanket. How are you coming along on that?
I have 9 octagons. I think that's more than last time. Mm-hmm. And I really am enjoying it. So 9 of them are finished. I have 2 of them that are unfinished. I also made one of the squares. I started one of the squares that goes in between the octagons, just because I wanted to see like what that was going to be like, what that part of the pattern was going to be like. And basically that's just like a granny square. And then the very edge, you do a detail. So I'm moving along on this, not as fast as I originally was because of a different project catching my attention. But I am making good progress, and I'm really loving it. Trying to figure out the colors is fun. And I've got enough of the squares made that now my balls of yarn fit into I have this, I got it at a garden show. It's like a wooden basket. Now my yarn is down to a size where I can fit it all in there. For a while, I just had my yarn in the box that it came in from Knit Picks. And I mean, the box was enormous. Took up a whole section of the, like a person-sized section of our couch sitting next to me. And I had all the yarns all propped so I could see the top of them, the top of the skein, so I could see the colors. Because if I just stick it into a bag, then I have to rummage around and dig, and so I was just keeping it there. And now I'm keeping it in this box. So that's I've made enough progress. I think that I feel pretty good about maybe being finished by Valentine's Day. So we'll see. I'm not gonna. Like I said before, I'm not making any promises of when I'm going to finish it, but I can envision that happening if I don't get too consumed by other things. So
okay, so what other things are you being consumed by?
Weaving. So I had put warp on my loom. Well, I'd wound 2 warps before Christmas, and ended up putting one of them on my loom. And I had talked about this before. It's a red, white, and green striped warp. So it's like a white ground with, and then it goes red stripe, green stripe, red stripe, green stripe, red stripe, with white in between, with white, the white on the white background. That was the warp. When it was on the warping board, it reminded me of ribbon candy, just those wide swaths of color. So I started weaving on them, and the first one that I did, in the middle of weaving on it, I actually posted it on Instagram and said, "Can you find the mistake?" Because in the middle of weaving on it, I realized, and I can't remember now how I realized it. Oh, I know how I realized it. I was trying to weave so that I would make squares. So one of the ways that you make things look nice when you're doing stripes is you pick one part of your striping pattern. So I have vertical stripes and horizontal stripes. So I pick one part of my horizontal striping pattern and weave it till it's square. So I had the thin stripes of red and green, and I was going to make a square. So it would be like a plaid, essentially, right? Where the squares...
I'm going to interrupt you. Can I interrupt to ask a question? To make it square, you've got the warp. So say you have 10 threads, 10 warping threads. Do you put in 10 wefts?
Usually.
Not necessarily. Or is it always equal or not necessarily equal?
Not necessarily, but if you're doing a balanced weave, it should be about equal. And that's what I was doing. So mine was 20 ends per inch. So 20 warp threads in this 1 inch wide stripe on the warp. And so then I was going to go 1 inch of weft, which was about 18 or 20 weft threads. And I go by eye, not by I would just go until it looked like an inch, until it looked right. And I'd measure it. And if it was measuring an inch, then I'd stop, even if it wasn't quite 20. So I was doing that, and that was working out pretty well. It was like giving me a good looking striping sequence, right? With these, where the red weft crossed the red warp, I'd have a solid red square, which was nice. And then I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. Now I'll square the white. So the white was wider. It was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 inches, maybe an inch and a half. I can't remember exactly how many warp threads they were, but I started trying to square that. And all of a sudden I realized they were all square except one. So one of those white stripes in the middle, I made the same width as the white stripes on the edges instead of the width it was supposed to be. Now that would be perfect if it was right in the center, right? So the two edges have the wider stripe, the center has a wider stripe, and then you have the smaller stripes in the middle. But that's not the way it was. So there were 6 white stripes, and the third one was wider than it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay. So Kelly, you posted this on Instagram. Do you see the mistake? And do you remember my comment?
Yes. Did you see another mistake besides the size of the stripes?
No. Well,
for anyone who didn't see Marsha's post, what she said was, I'm afraid if I point out a mistake, it will be another mistake besides the one that you.
Yeah. What did I say here? I'm looking back here now. I'm not answering that question. What if I'm wrong? That's what I said.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me like one of those questions, like, does this dress make me look fat?
Right.
There's no way you can answer that question. But now I see, because I kept looking at it and I could not see, because I'm on Instagram here looking at it, and I did not see what the mistake was. I see now what it is. It's very subtle.
Yeah. It's about 8 threads. It was about eight threads too many.
But the picture you posted, on the bottom right of the picture on a red stripe, there's a piece of red thread laying there. I thought maybe that had something to do with it. And I think it's just laying there. I don't think it has anything to do.
Probably not. I don't have the picture in front of me, but yeah, probably that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But anyway, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And
so they still work.
So I finished it. I mean, I finished the towel. Yeah. I'll definitely, it'll still dry dishes, right?
Yeah.
But what I did was I cut it off. Once I finished it, I cut it off the loom and I took out those extra threads and slid everything over those 8 slots.
Okay. So if I look at your other pictures, it'll be obvious.
Well, it's fixed now.
Or I guess what I'm saying, the fix will be obvious.
I don't know. The problem wasn't obvious. So when you see the fix, what you'll see.
I guess what I'm saying is the problem wasn't obvious, but now that you pointed out what the problem is, it's really obvious to me.
Okay.
So am I going to see that it's fixed but there's no.
Yes, because they're all
the same. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yes, because now all the white stripes are the same size.
Yeah.
I did fix it so that all those white stripes, the 2 on the outside are a little bit wider, and the 4 on the inside, the 4 white stripes on the inside are all the same size. Mm-hmm. So, plus it gave me it was not horrible. And it gave me an excuse to cut off the first towel and wash it and see what the weaving texture looked like once it had been washed and dried in the dryer, because that's always fun. You can't really tell what it's going to look like. There's a lot of weave structures that I can't tell what it's going to look like until it's been washed. In a dish towel, I can't tell what it's going to look like until it's been washed, because the cotton shrinks and then the pattern becomes apparent, and mistakes become apparent that you didn't see when it wasn't washed. Other kinds of mistakes become apparent.
Okay, Kelly. Yeah. I am listening to what you're saying, but I'm also reading the comments on Instagram. And so I'm going to say something here. Yeah. The only person who noticed it, what the mistake
was Mary.
Mary.
Yes.
And because Mary is a fantastic weaver,
Yes.
and she's meticulous.
Yes.
And so, of course, Mary would see what the mistake is because she has such an incredible eye. So, yeah.
I should have her come and look at my warp before I start weaving. Right. I should send her a picture. Hey, Mary, do you see any mistakes here? Before I start. It's because it's hard. I have a hard time catching. I have a hard time catching the mistakes before I start weaving. But anyway, I did catch that one and I fixed it. And then I did 2 more towels. One towel exactly like the first one, only with all the stripes the same size. So the next one I did, I was watching the Jane Stafford Guild, and I got inspired by what she was doing with twills. And so my next towel has all these different, it's kind of more like a sampler. I did Wall of Troy, which is a twill pattern, and I did a regular point twill pattern, and then I did something called Trompe as Writ, where you actually weave the exact same pattern that you threaded through the heddles. So I did that, and that didn't turn out to look very good. And then I did, what else did I do here? Oh, and then I just did a regular straight twill pattern. So I was just playing around with different twills or different things that she was talking about in her episodes. So I have a towel that's that. And then I went back. So then I was excited to, I wanted to see this one washed, but I thought, oh no, I can't do that. But by the time I was done, my tension was getting all weird. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to cut these 2 off and wash them. Because I'm going to have to retie anyway to make my tension better. So I fixed the tension. And then I got 3 more towels out of the thing. So I have a total of 6, which is what I had planned for. But whenever you have to cut things off the loom and then tie them back on, you have more waste than you expected. So I wasn't sure I was going to get 3. My third one is a little skimpy, but I got 6 towels out of the
It
deal.
still works as a dish towel, right?
Yeah. It
still dries dishes.
Just a little,
right?
Yeah, it's a little small. It will probably be, it would be good to use as a gift, like, if you give somebody a little basket with jam or something, or honey, and then just use it to fill up a basket. So that's probably what that one will be. But I was kind of motivated to get them off the loom because I want to get them washed and put away with the other Christmas stuff. And I did put away the other Christmas stuff, but anyway, they're done now, and I can get them washed and hemmed, and then put them aside for next year. And then I still have another warp. It's white with a red stripe, a small red stripe on either edge, about 1 inch from the edge. And I had thought of them as Christmas towels when I put the warp on the loom, but I think I might actually use them as a lace sampler. For this new season of Jane Stafford is going to be lace. And I'm going to try to keep up. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm going to try to keep up with the lessons. They come out every month or so, every 6 weeks. I don't know exactly what the timing is because I've never watched them as they've come out. I've always watched them afterwards. But I'm going to try to keep up with her lessons and watch it, and then go to my loom and do it. And then, watch the next one and go to my loom and do the project. And so I may be able to use this warp as a sampler for one of those projects. So, and it occurred to me as I was weaving twill, because when I warped with all that white, I thought, I'm a little worried about, I want to use this because I have so much of it. But I think we talked about, my worry about white dish towels.
Right.
But I really wasn't thinking very clearly about this, because when you do twill, like the green and white twill, it reads mostly green.
Correct. Yeah.
So these could be any color, really. The white with the red warp could have a orange weft, or a blue weft, or brown or some of my fox cotton or the navy blue that I bought from Houston Textiles when they had mill ends from their denim weaving. So I don't know what I'll use as the weft. If I decide not to use them for lace, I can certainly make towels that don't read as white with a white warp. So, but my next warp is ready if that's what I want to use it for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then the other thing that I've been working on, and I haven't worked on it a lot, but I have made progress, is my pullover.
Okay.
I was going to say I haven't worked on it a lot, but that's not true because I finished both sleeves.
Oh, wow.
Well, they are not totally finished, but they're to the point where I need to put the whatever edging I'm going to do on them. So when last we spoke, I think I had the hem on waist yarn and was starting to pick up for the sleeves. So now I knit the sleeves down to the point where I need to decide what to do, put them on waist yarn. So I have my sleeve pattern, which I couldn't decide on at first. So the top is dark green, and then I transition into the knocker's color, that teal. And then instead of on my main body, it was the dark green with the light teal stitches, blips, little dots. So this is the teal with the dark green dots. You can barely see the dark green dots on the teal.
Oh,
but
are you okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I just find it interesting that the teal on the dark background shows up, but the dark green on the teal background doesn't really show up. And then I have some smaller stripes, and then I have a big, like a 1-inch stripe, and then I'm back to the yarn that you bought me from Iceland, and then that's about, I wanted to know how long that was, right? How long of a sleeve that was. Am I ready to do my sleeve edging? So I put the collar on so that it will hang right. So I put the sleeves on waist yarn, put the collar on. So the collar's done. It looks really nice. And now I'm working on the hem. So the front hem is ready to bind off. And then I have to pick up in the back and do short rows. Okay. And I don't know if you can hear, but Robert's has a roof contractor, and he's right outside the window.
Oh, of course.
Where I'm here recording.
I can't hear anything, but that doesn't mean it won't pick up.
I don't know. But, and it's just a little bit unnerving for me to be sitting here right framed in the window while someone's out there watching me. I mean, he's not watching me. He's doing other stuff, but
watching you talk to yourself.
Yes. With a big microphone in front of me. Yeah. Like, what the heck is she doing? So anyway, I'm really close on this. I have to, I just have to do short rows for the back because it's a split hem. So it has, the front doesn't have any short rows. It's just a split hem, and then you go into ribbing. So that ribbing is ready to bind off, and then I need to pick up the back stitches off of the waist yarn and do a few short rows and then ribbing, and that'll be done. And then I go back and pick up the sleeves, and they are basically ready for, I think it's 2 inches of ribbing. Okay. So yeah, I don't think I think I might need to do maybe 1 more inch of regular before I go into the ribbing on the sleeves, but they're super close.
Okay.
So I will be able to be finished with that. My deadline is the 15th. And it's looking good. That's a week away.
And what is the reason for the 15th deadline?
Oh, because the 2 Knitlet chicks are having a sweater knit along. And that's when that ends. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Very nice. Any other projects?
That's it.
So, Kelly, we need to talk about a prize giveaway.
Yes. And so we have a ongoing giveaway that we're doing, and you can get in touch with us through the Ravelry group or through email. You can send us voice feedback. We actually already got some voice feedback, Marsha.
Oh,
yeah.
Exciting.
And we'll play it in our next episode. But this is paper planning and plotting. And so what we want people to answer is this prompt. How do you keep your plots and plans straight? Paper, digital, other? Do you use a calendar? What kind? A notebook? What kind? Do you use a notebook for your projects or just Ravelry? When you do use paper, when do you use paper and when do you use digital? Mm-hmm. And so those are all kinds of questions that we were interested in, knowing how people organize their lives. Because I have gotten interested in fountain pens and fancy notebooks. But I also keep my calendar digitally. So we talked about that a little bit on a previous episode.
And I just have to interrupt to say that you are dragging me kicking and screaming into the 21st century. You emailed me a Google Calendar link for our recording date today.
Yes. Marsha got a calendar invitation for her Google Calendar. Well, and the funny thing is that I don't actually use the calendar where I sent you the email, our to-use account. I haven't ever used that. There hasn't ever been anything on that calendar, so it's not connected to my calendar. So I'm going along today thinking I'm going to get a calendar message about our recording, you know, a little alert. It's like, what time is it? Oh, why didn't I get a little alert? Oh, that's why, because I haven't synced this to my calendar yet. So
I have to learn all this, but anyway, yes. But I made it to our recording session.
Yes, you did,
time, so
and you actually RSVP'd to the invitation. So that was
yes,
good.
I did.
Yeah. So
anyway,
our prize for this is a 2 Sheep's calendar, which, Marsha, I don't know why it didn't occur to me that we should have actually finalized and concluded this giveaway before January 1st.
Oh.
So people could have actually had their calendar before the new year started. But no,
okay, well,
we don't.
Note to self for next year.
Like, we're not even going to draw a winner until January 20th. What the heck was I thinking?
Yes, what were we thinking?
I don't know.
I know what we were thinking. We were not thinking. That's what.
Exactly.
So our apologies. That really it doesn't make a lot of sense
Yes.
what we just did. So,
but the calendar is really cool, and on the calendar is each page is a skein of yarn that becomes available. And apparently January's is sold out already. Okay. Sorry, we're sorry.
But, oh dear, we are terrible.
I know,
aren't we?
So the winner of this calendar will have a picture of the yarn and will be eligible to order that yarn each month. It'll become available on the first of the month. So that's part of the prize. And then another part of the prize is a pack of 3 field notes notebooks in the Snowy Evening design. And it's a nice little 3-pack of small, like 3x5-ish size notebooks. And they're all unique with a unique picture of a snowflake. Every one of almost 100,000 notebooks has a different snowflake on it. So very cool story. I'll put that information in the show notes if you want to follow the link to Brendan Dawes, who is the illustrator, the artist who did the illustration, who worked on the algorithm that produced the illustration of each individual snowflake for almost 100,000 notebooks. So anyway, yes, if you're interested, please send us your answer to that question, and we will be talking about them next time and kind of talking about how people organize themselves for the new year and how we're organizing ourselves for the new year, and we'll be drawing the winner.
Clearly we need calendars because we didn't figure out this calendar thing.
I know.
Okay. Anyway. Oh, well.
So, it is only January 7th. It feels like we're well into January yet. at
Yeah,
this
it
point,
does.
But it really is only January 7th. But it will be January 20th before we even announce the winners. So, all right. Well, because it's January, the end of the first week of January, Marsha and I were thinking that we would talk about our plans for 2021. And so I decided it would be fun to go back and listen to our episodes from January 2020. And then I also went back and I listened to our episode from January 2019. And I have two observations. First of all,
I think I know where this is going.
First of all, if you think that Marsha and I are amusing, I think we're much more amusing at 1.5 speed. We're pretty unlistenable at 2 times speed. I tried that because I was running short of time because I was not preparing show notes this morning. I was obsessively scanning the news. But when I remembered that I was supposed to do this, I thought, I'll listen to us at more than normal speed. And oh my God. Yeah. If you need a laugh, you should listen to us at 1.5 times speed. And then my other observation.
I'm sorry, I will get a grip here in a moment.
Well, you might not, because my other observation is that we could have just replayed episode 106 from January 2019 or episode 127 from January 2020, and it would be exactly the same thing as what I had in my notes to say this year. Like, okay,
well, let's just test. Let me tell you what I was going to put in here.
What is wrong with us? So, walking more and more regularly. Oh, my God. And the other thing, I've said it now twice, 2 years prior, both of those years, I want to have a little bit more balance between the crafts that I do. So I don't get stuck on just knitting and ignore my spinning, or stuck on just weaving and ignore my knitting, or, obsess about the spinning and don't do any knitting. So anyway, I am nothing if not predictable.
So, Kelly.
Yes.
I have walking, strength training.
Oh my gosh.
The eternal question: why do we have such a hard time doing the things that we know are good for us?
And that's exactly what you said last year, Marsha. Oh my! Did maybe 2020 didn't actually happen?
Well, so I'm going to say, looking back at 2020, we had a pandemic. It's like that year almost didn't happen in a way because it was so.
Yeah.
Well, you did a lot of walking during the summer anyway.
During the summer, yeah.
Yeah. And then in also, I'm going to defend you. We cannot be too harsh on ourselves. You cannot be harsh on yourself, because in 2019, you had the broken foot you were recovering from.
Yeah. I feel like I've had almost 2 lost years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had thought of at least one thing that I was new.
Well, I think this is new. I have one of the things I'm going to add to this. I think it's new. I don't know. You went back and listened.
I'll tell you.
Sleep.
Oh, no. That was not. Okay. You did not have that on your list.
Everybody uses that term, sleep hygiene, which I don't really like that term.
It makes you feel like you're not clean enough in your sleep.
Yeah, it makes me like my current sleep is dirty or something, But anyway, no, I just find that I wake up in the morning and I feel tired and exhausted, and I don't feel rested. And I know what I'm doing wrong. I know exactly what I'm doing wrong. And it's a little embarrassing because I should know better.
Yeah, I know better, what you're doing wrong.
I know exactly what I'm doing wrong as I get into bed and I with my laptop and I watch Netflix and I knit. And the next thing I know, I start watching political YouTube stuff about political stuff, and the next thing I know, it's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and then I'm exhausted the next day.
Oh my gosh. Because I stayed up past midnight last night. It's the first time I've done it in so long. It makes me feel a little bit sick if I stay up that late. I mean, while I'm awake that night, it makes me feel a little bit sick if I stay up that late. And then today I just am dragging.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. And I know what I need to do. And what I really should do is get into bed. And if I want something for that period of time between sleep or getting into bed and sleep, is maybe read a book, or somebody has like apps that you can listen to that are people talking, storytelling, or sounds or whatever. That's really what I need to do. And so every night since New Year's that I've gone to bed, I'm like, I'm going to go put that laptop in the other bedroom. But do I? No. So I'm going to try again tonight. So if people want to comment, if they want to have some ideas for me, I don't drink coffee at night, so that's been eliminated. That's been eliminated for a long time. I was thinking I should probably start taking melatonin. A lot of people have the melatonin before they go to bed.
Do you have your phone? I have one suggestion. Do you have your phone on there's a mode, mute? Like I have it on my phone where it's set up. It's the do not disturb. Oh. And
well, I know you have a thing where like
turns
no one
off,
can call you.
Yeah.
But some people, like, I can call you if there's an emergency or something.
You can set up for certain people to be able to get through, but I have do not disturb on. It comes on at a particular time. Oh, and then there's also a thing where at that time it turns your light of your phone so it's not, this is on an iPhone, it turns the light of your phone so that is not that blue light that's supposed to be bad for you.
Right.
And so anyway, there's some settings in your phone that you can use.
Okay.
So that might help. I don't know. But I mean, it's not going to make you do something you don't want to do. Right? It's not going to take the book out of your hand or take the computer out of your hand and put it in the other room for you.
Right. And and the other thing I was thinking is that I use my phone actually as my alarm, you know. And so maybe what I need to do is just get an alarm clock, an old-fashioned alarm clock. So I just go put the phone in another room or put it on my desk across the room. So if I got an emergency phone call, I could get it, but I can't lay there in bed and look at it, you know, or if I wake up in the middle of the night, grab the phone, that kind of thing.
You can turn, you can also turn your apps off. Like I have a time limit. I did this a while back when they started sending you the screen reports of how much screen time you had. So I have a time limit on Instagram and a time limit on Twitter. And then after I've used that amount of time, they just go dark. And when you click on them, it says you've reached your time limit, and then you have to do something, you know, to ignore that limit. And you can set up kind of harsh, like all I have to do is say ignore limit, but I could set it up so I have to do something different than that, something more difficult. So there's some ways. There are some ways to do that. You know, on your phone where you can turn things off at a certain time, like you would do like people would do for their children. Like just turn.
I have to treat myself like a child.
I'm not much help because once I stopped doing the job where I was running the federal grants, I stopped having trouble sleeping, and so. I am not a very good person to talk to about that. Yeah, because I do go to bed quite early.
I think I will do because I think it will. I mean, it's obvious if you have routinely get a good night's sleep, because everything I've read and I've heard from people is sleep is when your body rebuilds and recharges and detoxes and all this stuff. So no wonder I feel exhausted and tired. And so I think it's all, so we'll see. Ask me this a year from now.
How about I was going to say in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. Yeah.
Well, you could report what you find out, like what you're gonna try. And you might hear from some people. with ideas. And if you look into what what you can do with your phone, you might find some things that are really helpful. And you can report back.
And probably the most helpful thing is just go put it in another room. It's really.
But anyway. If you feel like you need to be able to get a phone call.
Yeah, I do want to.
Then you need to find a way to turn all that other stuff off and still have a phone call, or at least help your willpower along a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, that's how doing more walking works. That's how dieting works. That's how going to the gym to lift weights works. You have to help yourself put your life in such a way that it makes it easier to have that discipline rather than harder.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm adding one new thing.
Yeah, that's good. I like it, Marsha. We had something new this year.
You can cut all of this out, just replay 2019 and 2020 and add sleep in there.
Yes, and in case
good to go.
Yeah, and in case you want to know, that's episode 106 and episode 127. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, there really wasn't. Oh, well, one thing that did come up was our fiber goals. And you had the fiber goal of doing more projects for other people.
Oh, and I was good on that.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I was thinking you did. Yeah.
Because I did a sweater for my brother. I've done, I think, 2 pairs of socks for him this year. And I made 2 hats for Ben's girlfriend and 1 hat for Ben. And I made the tea cozy for Gary. Is that it? I think that's what I've done.
Yeah, no, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, cool.
Oh, well, I feel so good. I don't feel like such a slacker now.
It was just so funny when I listened to the episode. Well, first I listened to 2020 and I was like, okay, well, this looks like the list Marsha and I talked about last week. And so then I thought, well, let's go back to 2019. And it was like almost a direct repeat of 2020. And I thought, why didn't we didn't even notice. Like, we didn't even blink. We just said all the same stuff. Oh my gosh.
Oh dear.
Luckily, no one goes back and says, all right, I'm guessing. No one goes back to like who's starting the podcast. You know how some people start from the beginning or whatever. Luckily, no one says, oh, I know what I'll do. Hey. I'll go back and I'll listen to all the January episodes that they've done. And then I'll listen to all the February episodes. Luckily, no one does that.
Well, and even if they did, I think all of our listeners are too kind to.
Right. They would never say anything.
They would never say anything. They're much too kind and generous. So anyway. Oh. Okay, well. So what else do we have?
I have one more thing.
Oh, okay. I
don't have a lot of YouTube knitting shows that I watch regularly. Mostly I just listen to podcasts instead of watching, but I found one called Needles at the Ready, and it's a YouTube show, and the 2 guys who are on that show are Kevin and Ray, and actually I found that one because the first one I saw was called Sweet Tea No Shade, and it's John and Scott. And I thought they were really funny, and they referenced Needles at the Ready, and so I went and watched Needles at the Ready, and I liked that one too. So 2 new to me knitting shows on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. It occurred to me something just now, because you're talking about YouTube. And we can put a link to YouTube in the show notes, right?
Yeah.
So we can put a link to this one also. So when Kim and I went to Iceland, we did a cooking class, and on the trip there were 2 men, Bobby and Tyler Ryan, who are videographers, and they filmed the first week of the trip, and they went to the cooking class with us. And just last week while we were at the beach, they released the video of our cooking class.
Oh, cool.
So what I'll do is I will put a link in the show notes. I don't remember the exact name of the title of that episode, but it's something like Icelandic cooking class, something simple like that. There's also a link in there also about the geothermal plant that we visited and the lava tube that we visited.
Oh, cool.
So I could put a link to both of those in there.
Yeah, okay.
But the Icelandic cooking class was really fun. Well, the whole trip was fantastic, but that cooking class, Kim and I both came away thinking when we get to travel again, we'll always look for a cooking class in a country that we visit because it is such a great introduction to the country and culture and traditions of a country. So, but anyway, I'll put a link in there and,
that would be good.
Yeah.
So people will have something to watch at night while they're not going to sleep.
Yes.
Oh,
well, I'll report in 2 weeks how I did with the sleep.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, okay. I think that's it.
Oh, one other funny thing about this just popped into my head about the New Year's resolutions was that, so I won't say anything more about it for this year, but in both 2019 and 2020, I was debating about whether I was going to do that advent calendar for my grandniece and nephew. So nothing more will be said about that unless I actually have it on my crochet hook.
Oh, that's so funny.
I know.
Well,
I know.
we are like a record repeating itself. We're in a groove. So
we are predictable.
Yeah.
All right, Marsha.
Okay, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
Alrighty.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2Us
doing our part for World Fleece.